All right. We may or may not have filmed this already. It got completely cut out. So this is round two.
Here we go. We're back. What are we
What are we
talking about?
talking about? What are we talking about? I'll shoot that back at you.
Uh, we're going to talk about setting projections in an agency and how to, I guess, think through uh, what you're currently doing and how it plays out over the course of the next 6 months, 12 months, maybe longer.
Easy. What would you say is a good framework for setting projections? Why should we do it? How should we do it? Start us
It's
easy.
a, I think it's a good way to look at what you're currently doing, actually, and see, um, sometimes you're very focused on today, uh, and maybe improving the number or the metric today. But I think if you play out repeating the same actions over and over at the current rate you're doing in the same way that you're doing it, you can kind of guess what happens in the future. Uh, so if you can get good at guessing, then you can also start working on how to change your behavior. And I think that's one of the more important things that comes from actually trying to set projections in the first place.
For sure. Now, I know you kind of walked me through this when setting projections, and I think it helps a ton. Because a lot of people are like, what if I'm too low? What if I'm too high?
Mm,
What if I'm not spot on?
mm.
You got a really good framework about it as far as setting your worst case, best case, and the median case projections. Walk us through that.
Yeah, I think you're it's helpful to know what to do in different scenarios.
Boom.
Uh, so if you can project like the worst possible thing to happen as well as the best possible thing to happen, uh, you can know how to recognize it and also make changes or think through potential changes. So like all of this stuff is kind of bullshit because if you don't do today very well, it doesn't matter. But if you're trying to understand, like, I think it's especially helpful when you look at like onboarding new business, and you're trying to project like marketing or sales. And that's the approach that I learned it through, at least. Um, but you want to know how to effectively return the budget every month.
It's also very good to track profitability, especially at scale, and you being able to track, like I said, revenue, best case, worst case. You can make sure that even in a worst case scenario, your net margin stays solid. You can project out expenses. You can project out a lot of things.
When do you think you started getting good at projecting?
Uh, when I started talking to you,
Huh?
that's a pretty valid one. I don't know. When I started doing them and actually understanding what went into them, you're 100% right in the sense of like they don't matter at all if you're
Hmm.
just like I used to be someone who would write down, this big number on a sheet and do all the math and it all makes sense. It's like, I only need to close 80 deals this month. And then I'm like, I'm quadrupling the business. It's actually doing that though that you have to do. But it is really nice to understand and backtrack. And I think I got really good at it when I could understand just each step of the funnel and how to
Hmm.
backtrack it. And then also what helps you project is tracking your previous data. So you have something to base off of. Because
Right.
if you try to project with like what you think your close rate will be or what you think your show rate will be, your projections could be extremely off. But if you have 12 months of data, now we're talking.
Could you explain like the funnel, like maybe some examples of funnel steps or backtracking through them?
Yeah, so like I can pretty much see if I make 10,000 dials, I know that my setters are gonna have 1,000 pickups, let's say. And out of those
Mm.
1,000 pickups, on average, we're gonna book 100 people. Out of those
Hmm.
100 people, I know that 50 are gonna show and be qualified, and I'm gonna be able to close 40% of those, meaning I close 20 people, right?
Right.
So I can pretty much backtrack the math. Let's say if that was the math, and I can
Hmm.
I can understand like if I wanted to add 100K in new MRR, well then I just have to do the 10,000 dials times five,
Hmm.
do
Or you
50,000
make
dials,
improvements to the metrics, right? Or
or
the
make
steps
improvements.
themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But just with like let's say that was my last 6 months worth of data on average,
Hmm.
where all those numbers, then I can pretty comfortably see what I would need to get in place. And then let's say my average setter is doing 5,000 dials a month. Then I would know I need 10 setters fully
Hmm.
ramped at 5,000 dials a month in order to hit that. And then me, I always try to give a little bit of a buffer. So I'll probably say, let's aim for 12 setters, or let's
Hmm.
go a little bit higher just in case things don't fully work out. We still should be hitting the KPI.
How does projecting play into hiring in that case?
Super good question. So if I can project that that based off our current system, we're going to be adding, let's say, worst case 8 clients, best case 12 clients in the next 30
Hmm.
days. Um, let's say I've got a 1 to 4 setter to client ratio. I can pretty easily see that I'm going to need 2 to 3 setters in the next 30 days that are fully ramped, ready to go on client accounts, and it can
Hmm.
kind of help me project out for what I'm able to what we need through the door as far as hiring in that period. And then on top of that, if you go a step further and you track your setter retention rate, let's say you got an 80% retention rate, you know that if you hire 5 setters, you're going to keep 4 past 2 weeks. And you can
Hmm.
really break down the math to a super like realistic number of I need to hire 5 people to keep 4 past 2 weeks to have 3 hit KPI within a month that can go on a client account, for example.
Hmm.
And it also helps you to make sure that you don't have 12 new clients and nobody to fulfill on them for,
Right.
especially
Right.
at scale. When you're only closing 2, 3 deals a month, it's a little bit easier to manage without projecting. But as you continue to scale 10 deals a month to 20 new to 30 new, 50 new, 100 new, this becomes more and more important.
I'm curious, like, okay, uh, when you, I remember the first time like setting projections with you, and or the first few times, like the first couple months, and then at one
I don't
point we're
remember
like,
that.
okay, like, okay, some of the projections are very high. I think you also like hired a lot to accommodate for those.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I,
It
I,
explains it.
I aim high, so I don't know. I don't know
It's
if it's
good
good
to
or
aim
bad.
high.
Yeah,
No,
I
it's
don't know
good
if
to
it,
aim high.
but
Uh,
I think there's a lot that I could have
but
done different.
the difference is understanding like I think the different inputs or actions that are required to get there.
Yeah,
Because I think like you were aiming high, but you hadn't necessarily based it down to what you needed to do every single day. In
yeah,
terms
I
of like
think
the volume of dials or
yeah,
the quality of them.
and I think that's something I got way better at because I would start tracking these metrics super high level, and I would know okay, I need 100 qualified shows in a month to get the growth
Hmm.
that I need, for example. But then
Hmm.
the month will go by, and I'm 2.5 weeks in, and
Hmm.
I'm at like 20 qualified shows. I haven't really been tracking like are we even pacing for 100? Like is
Hmm.
that even going the direction that we need it to? So I think just with like you said, hiring the right amount, having the right systems in place, and at the same time, I was also projecting if I hired a rep and they were fully ramped, producing at my best reps
Hmm.
quality, a lot of things that like aren't aren't always going to happen. So,
Right.
I think that played a big picture into it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think projecting is a very important thing so you can see what the business is going to look like in the future and kind of make tweaks or turns before you actually just get there and they happen.
Right.
Because there's been a lot of times I've thought a comp structure was really good, and then I do the math and the projections at scale, and I'm like, oh, this would like lower my net margin by 20%. Let's not do that. Let's revert.
And that's probably the next thing that they're really useful for, is like actually managing spending properly.
For sure. Talk on it.
Um, I, I don't know. There's like many obvious reasons, um, but also non-obvious reasons because like the same thing with taking an approach and saying, okay, we're going to keep doing the same thing and we'll do it 5 times more by the end of the year. Uh, where you can play it all the way out, and then you can see like uh you might need different structures or more efficiency before scaling it all the way up. And if you scale the like for instance the structure you were talking about, if you do that 10, 15 times over, then you can have a really bad situation quickly. So um, you yeah you have to know the impact over as long of a time frame as possible and know what you're going to do. And that's why you want to get good at it, because
Yeah.
you need to get good at guessing. And it's like you're probably going to only be able to guess the next month out to start and do that accurately. Um, so it's really good practice to also figure out where you should be spending, and what things need investment in as well.
And I think one of the most important things as well is regularly checking your projection progress.
Mm,
So, because it might be, a fourth of the way through the month, and you realize
hmm
that you're way off pace. And
Yeah.
obviously, you don't just want to wait till the end of the month to realize that. You want to quickly get feedback loops so you can understand what did I do right that's getting me closer to hitting these projection targets, and what do I need to
hmm
tweak actively to be able to get moving in the right direction again.
Right. Um, yeah. What's the like final, I guess, best story you have about setting projections and then surrounding projections themselves?
I don't even know if I have a best story. Like I said, it's probably just scenarios like saving myself from a terrible commission structure, or being able to
Hmm
really get an idea for how good an opportunity is for a hiring position that I'm looking for. Um,
mm
what will be the OTEs given certain scale numbers, etc. Um, but I wouldn't really say I've got this like one crazy projection thing yet. I mean, I think one thing I've commonly done is to set a lot of projections and just write the numbers down and not, like you said, focus on the action steps behind those, which I think
hmm
that's by far the biggest thing. A projection's
Right.
great, but without action, it's pretty much nothing.
Boom. That's a wrap.
That's a
How do I
beautiful one.
apply?
How do you apply?
Yeah. What is this thing?
If I'm pretty sure, I think if you go in the description of the video, there's going to be a little link that you can click. You can go
Small.
apply there.
Small or big?
Whatever you
It's,
want it to be.
that's I didn't even mean to do that. That was big link. Probably a long link, maybe shortened, hopefully.
Maybe. It's going to be in the description, though. You can almost guarantee it.
And
If
then
you
you
click
click on
on
it.
that and then you
Yeah, okay.
apply, you
Smart.
might be getting a phone call from one of us soon. So,
Or both of us sometimes.
or
Those ones
both
are
of us.
crazy.
Just
Yeah.
apply. Apply, see what
Cool.
happens.
Thanks for watching. See ya.
Later.